Hello and welcome back everyone to Nerdy Nekama. I've heard your feedback. I've started planning and writing some more challenges, but in the meantime, let's tie up some loose ends, starting with Hidden Chasms, Part 3. I hope you will enjoy. Let's go! The door clicked open. The person didn't even bother ringing the doorbell or knocking, leaving only one possibility of who it was. Kyo? The voice of his cousin echoed through the flat as the door shut close behind him. Sakusa could hear him take off his shoes and the quiet steps as he searched the apartment for him. He probably should have answered, but his mouth felt too dry. Mere seconds later, Komori appeared in the doorframe to his bedroom, his expression uncharacteristically mellow. Hey. Sakusa looked up from where he sat next to the bed. His whole posture was tense as he tried to keep his mind occupied. A small, compassionate smile spread on his cousin's face as he slowly entered the room and sat down beside him. He kept a comfortable distance between them, since he knew Sakusa needed it at the moment. So, what happened? He knew this wasn't just a relapse out of the blue. Komori was one of the few Sakusa allowed close to him, and as such, he knew him well. His cousin had accompanied him on his healing journey, every part of the way Sakusa allowed him to share. The raven tried to answer, but his throat felt like an invisible string was wrapping itself around it, and he couldn't find the words he needed. Suddenly his mind went blank. Well, his inner turmoil became an incoherent mess of entangled thoughts. It's about Atsumu, isn't it? He pressed his lips together and nodded. A sudden pressure built behind his eyes, but he knew that even if he wanted to, he couldn't cry now. Did you two fight? He shook his head and with a deep breath, straightened his back. No. I think I messed up. How? It took him a moment to respond. His eyes fixated on his fingers that were still red. A couple of cracks appeared where they started to dry out. He would have to... Suddenly, Komori got up and left. Sakusa observed him a little stunned, his gaze fixed on the door when he returned. In his hand he held a small jar of ointment. The Libero kneeled down in front of him and slowly freed his hands from where Sakusa clasped them together. Wordlessly, he applied the medicine on his reddened skin. Sakusa could see the worry reflected in his eyes as his cousin took in the extent of his injuries. It made his heart squeeze with guilt. That he seemed to have a lot of lately. Atsumu was scared of me. What? Scared? Why scared? I don't know. I said something. Called him babe and he acted weird about it. Then when I asked he left and I tried to stop him and he looked at me like he was terrified. Mote, am I becoming like my father? His voice almost broke toward the end and his eyes were widened and filled with terror. What? No, Kyo, why would you even think that? The Libero's eyes widened in utter shock, like he couldn't quite process what the other had just said. Sakusa let his head hang low and pulled his knees tighter again as he let his hands fall loosely on top of them. Okay, let's take this step by step, yes? He nodded weakly. First, you are not like your father. You will never be like him. He is an asshole. People have called me that before. His voice was somewhere between bitter and resigned. Not comparable. Kiyomi, I need you to listen to me. You are not him, and you will never be him. He nodded slowly. Years of therapy couldn't erase the fear completely, but it helped. In the very least, Komori's words sparked doubt in what he was previously willing to believe freely. But Atsumu, he was still scared. What if I made him scared? Well, that much was obvious. Just why? What had he done? What exactly happened? You said you called him babe, right? He cringed. Hearing it said like that was odd and uncomfortable. It had taken him all his strength to even consider addressing the other by a pet name in the first place, and now... I thought he would like it. He always seemed so fond of nicknames and shows, and, well... What did he say right after? Did he leave immediately, or... No. For a moment, he just froze and then smiled and said that the pet name was tacky. But it looked wrong. I know he didn't like it. He looked shocked. I would be too, hearing you being all soft and cutesy. Moteo. He sounded annoyed, but part of him appreciated his cousin for trying to make light of the situation. I know, but if you ask me, what happened wasn't on you. Perhaps the nickname had some bad memories associated. An ugly breakup, or a crazy ex, or maybe he just really didn't like it. Either way, you couldn't know. But how do I fix it? Time. Sakusa looked at him in disbelief. I know it's not the most satisfying answer, but I doubt there's little more that you can do right now. Atsumu probably needs some time to process this. You'll have to wait until he's ready to talk and just, not use that pet name again. Of course, that much he knew already. He never wanted to do anything that would cause the blonde harm. The pet name had long made it on the never-to-use list in his mind. He doubted he'd even use it if they broke up and he got with someone new. What if he breaks up with me? His heart clenched. It hurt. Simply thinking about the possibility hurt. Speaking the words felt like acid on his tongue. You know Atsumu better than I do, and even I know that he wouldn't break up with you over a simple misunderstanding. You haven't seen him. He was hurting. He was scared. Sakusa shrunk further as he pressed his knees closer to his chest and stared at the ground in utter disdain. Kyo, Tsumu's head over heels for you. One misstep won't suddenly change that. I don't know what demons lay in his past causing him to act that way, but I'm certain of this. Suddenly, Komori's phone lit up with a message, and as he read it, he let out a sigh of relief. The good news is that Atsumu's not alone. He just arrived at Samu's. His brother will take care of him. Just like I take care of you, dear cousin. How do you know that? I just do, okay? Under any other circumstances, Sakusa would have commented on the sudden blush spreading on his cousin's cheeks with more than a raised eyebrow, but like this, he didn't feel like getting into more relationship drama. It's going to be alright, don't overthink it too much. You will only come up with much worse reasons than there actually are. Motoya, he looked utterly terrified. He knew he was repeating himself, but he didn't know what else to do. Atsumu's expression, coined by fear, had rattled him to the bones. A simple Ganhwang breakup couldn't have invoked such a fear, could it? I know, but you don't know for sure why, and speculations make it worse. I know you, Kyo. You already have a list of the worst case scenarios in that pretty little head of yours, and it's probably not that bad. He wasn't sure he could agree with his cousin on that, but he had to admit defeat because Komori was right on at least one thing. All he could do right now was wait. Come on, time for some distraction. He let himself be pulled up by the libero and stood, if a little uncertain, on his feet. The smaller dragged him along to the living room and forced him to sit down. Pick any show or movie you like, I make us tea. No buts. He didn't even try. He knew that arguing with Komori like this was useless. Ultimately, they ended up watching a mediocre J-drama Sakusa wasn't all that interested in, but it was one of Atsumu's favorites. When he saw it, he couldn't scroll past it. Atsumu would be so mad when he found out that he finally cried at the scene the blonde always wept at, only for him not to be there when it happened. Yeah, I'm coming. Osamu stood up deliberately slowly upon hearing the frantic knocking on the door. His voice was laced with annoyance, an opinion his boyfriend shared wholeheartedly. Rin groaned as his pillow, aka Osamu, got up to open the door. They had shared a lazy morning followed by a lazy afternoon together, as neither of them had to work today, and they vowed to make this their resting day. Said resting day, aka home date night, was rudely interrupted by the unexpected guest trying to break in by hammering against their front door, from what it sounds like. He could already guess who it was by that reaction alone. What Osamu wasn't able to guess was the state his brother was in as he appeared before him. The blonde was out of breath and sweating as if he had run the whole way here. He had nothing on him but his phone and the clothes he wore. They weren't even fit for the weather. Not that Sumu was above wearing nothing but a t-shirt even in winter to flax, but this was different. He was frozen in place for a moment, taking in the state his brother was in with mild shock that quickly turned to anger as he saw his face. Atsumu looked distraught. What happened? Who did this? Atsumu flinched under his harsh tone, and Osamu internally scolded himself, but he wasn't apologetic for being angry on his twin's behalf. If whoever was responsible for this dared to cross his path, they'd feel sorry enough for the both of them. Samu, it's not... Come inside first, Atsumu. Suna had appeared behind him soundlessly, and now reached out a hand to offer Atsumu support and guided him inside as well. It was easy to forget with his laid-back attitude, but Suna could be really caring and concerned for the other. He gently supported his friend as they stepped inside, followed by the silver-haired twin. Do you want some tea? I was just about to make some. Well, that was another lie, but Osamu said nothing. In fact, his heart swelled with pride and affection for his partner as he saw him take care of his brother. Although it was always apparent that the two would be a package deal, many of his previous lovers hadn't been able to accept that. But Osamu never hesitated to put his brother first. It might not always be obvious, but he loved his idiot brother, and he would keep him from any harm if he could. He truly had been blind not to notice Lin sooner. He was his perfect match. Every day they shared seemed to prove that he knew, and as he watched him now, treating Atsumu with a gentle kindness he needed right now, while his eyes burned with the same rage Osamu felt, he knew it to be true. What happened, Atsumu? It wasn't his fault, but... His words were incoherent and broken up by sniffles and hiccups, but what Atsumu understood caused a shadow to darken his face. He had heard similar things before, and he'd be damned if he ever let anything like that happen again. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you liked this part. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe so you won't miss out on the next parts and really help this channel out. Thank you so much. I have to apologize a little again for the voiceover quality because I'm not sick anymore, but my voice is still affected and I'm still recovering, let's say it like that. Tell me, however, if you have a favorite quote, what it was under the pinned comment, or a favorite moment, so that I know what to make more of. A special thanks as always goes out to my nerdy neckos who help this channel a whole lot and help me keep motivated and keep making videos and content throughout difficult times on the channel. As always, here are my other social media, but you would do me an even bigger favor if you would click on one of these videos in the end card, and now I hope you have a wonderful and amazing day. Next part tomorrow.
Step 3, you grow hard about what you want to be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.